Off the coast of Nagasaki, a jagged concrete fortress rises abruptly from the gray-blue sea, a lonely silhouette against the horizon. This is Hashima Island, better known as Gunkanjima or Battleship Island. Once a bustling hub of human activity, it now lies abandoned, its skeletal apartment blocks battered by salt, wind, and time. Crumbling stairways lead to empty rooms, rusted playgrounds echo forgotten laughter, and the jagged cliffs bear the scars of decades of neglect. The island looks like a post-apocalyptic movie set, yet every decayed structure, every eroded balcony, is a fragment of real history, a story of industrial ambition, human endurance, and the eventual limits of progress. Hashima's transformation began in the late 1800s when coal was discovered beneath its seabed. Japan's Industrial Revolution needed energy, and Hashima, barely 16 acres in size, became a densely populated mining colony. By the mid-20th century, more than 5,000 people lived here, making it one of the most crowded places on Earth. Residents built schools, shops, temples, and cinemas within concrete towers that seemed to rise directly from the sea. Life was confined and claustrophobic, but there was a sense of purpose. The island fueled Japan's rapid modernization. Families endured cramped quarters, harsh weather, and long work hours, yet they created a fully functioning community, a small world balanced on the edge of rock and ocean. The island's decline was as sudden as its rise. By the 1960s, petroleum began replacing coal as Japan's main energy source. In 1974, the mine closed, and the 5,000 residents abandoned the island overnight, leaving furniture, photographs, and memories behind. Today, Hashima stands frozen, a concrete skeleton reclaimed by the sea, a monument to human industry and impermanence. It is a warning and a fascination, a reminder that even the most concentrated human endeavor can vanish, leaving only echoes of lives once lived amid walls that now crumble. Silently into the waves, Hashima Island was once nothing more than a rocky outcrop in the East China Sea, a windswept fragment of stone barely large enough to hold a single village. Its transformation began in 1887, when Mitsubishi Corporation purchased the island after discovering rich seams of undersea coal. The company saw an opportunity. Japan was industrializing rapidly, and energy was the lifeblood of its ambitions. Coal mining on Hashima required audacious engineering. The island's cliffs were fortified with concrete seawalls to protect against relentless waves, and multi-story apartment blocks were built to house the growing workforce. Within decades, Hashima evolved from barren rock into a vertical city, rising directly from the sea like a fortress of industry. The population swelled quickly. By the 1950s, Hashima housed over 5,000 residents, miners, families, teachers, shopkeepers, packed into a space smaller than a single square kilometer. Life was tightly regimented. Every building, corridor, and stairway served a purpose. Children attended schools perched above the waves, groceries were delivered through narrow alleyways, and social life unfolded in compact communal spaces. Yet this density came at a cost. Privacy was minimal, and the relentless sea spray eroded the island's concrete structures year after year. Despite the harsh environment, Hashima's community thrived, fueled by the promise of employment and the sense of collective purpose. The island's rapid industrialization reflected Japan's broader ambitions. Hashima became a symbol of progress, a demonstration that engineering could bend even the harshest environment to human needs. Coal mined here powered factories, ships, and trains across the nation, contributing directly to Japan's post-war economic miracle. The story of Hashima was not just local, it was national. Its rise illustrated how ambition, ingenuity, and industrial might could transform a mere rock in the sea into a densely populated, self-sufficient world, seemingly impervious to the isolation and fury of the surrounding ocean. Daily life on Hashima Island was unlike anywhere else in Japan. Every inch of space mattered. Apartment buildings were stacked so tightly that narrow alleys barely allowed two people to pass. Families of 5 lived in single rooms. Laundry hung across concrete railings, fluttering in the salty wind. The sound of waves and machinery blended into a constant rhythm, steam hissing from pipes, the hum of generators, the crash of surf against seawalls. Beneath the island's surface, miners descended through dark, narrow shafts to extract coal from tunnels extending kilometers under the ocean. Work was dangerous and exhausting. The sea constantly threatened to flood the mine, and accidents were common. Yet amid the hardships, there was community. Children played baseball in the courtyards, and on stormy nights, neighbors gathered around radios to listen to distant broadcasts. The island had its own school, hospital, bathhouse, and cinema. Every need, from education to entertainment, was met within those concrete walls. Residents often described the place as both prison and paradise, a world so compact that escape felt impossible, yet one pulsing with life. There was pride in being part of Hashima, pride in enduring the elements, and providing the energy that fueled Japan's recovery from war. But beneath this sense of unity lay exhaustion. The coal industry demanded endless labor, and shifts ran day and night. The island's isolation made it feel suspended in time, detached from the rest of Japan's modernization. For many workers, especially those brought from Korea and China during World War II, life on Hashima was not opportunity, but captivity. The same walls that kept out the sea also kept people in. Behind the hum of industry, a quiet unease lingered, a sense that this artificial world could not last forever. Behind Hashima's image as a model of progress lay a darker history that remained hidden for decades. During the 1930s and 1940s, as Japan's empire expanded and its appetite for coal grew, the island became a site of forced labor. Thousands of Koreans and Chinese were brought to work in the mines under brutal conditions. Many arrived against their will, stripped of freedom and exposed to constant danger underground. They toiled in suffocating tunnels, sometimes hundreds of meters below the sea floor, where temperatures soared and methane gas filled the air. Records suggest that hundreds never returned to the surface alive. These laborers lived separately from Japanese miners, confined to overcrowded quarters and denied basic rights. For them, Hashima was not a marvel of engineering, but a prison surrounded by water. Escape was nearly impossible. Even if one reached the edge, the waves would swallow any attempt at freedom. After Japan's defeat in World War II, the survivors were sent home quietly, and the island's post-war narrative of progress continued without acknowledging their suffering. For decades, official accounts celebrated Hashima as a triumph of industrial innovation, erasing the human cost that powered it. In recent years, this forgotten history has resurfaced, sparking controversy both within Japan and abroad. When Hashima was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2015, neighboring countries protested, urging Japan to recognize the forced labor that occurred there. The debate continues, revealing the island's double identity, a monument to human achievement and a memorial to exploitation. Beneath the rust and ruin, Hashima's silence is not just about abandonment. It is about memory, guilt, and the uneasy balance between pride and remorse that still shapes how Japan remembers its industrial past. By the late 1960s, the age of coal was ending. Japan's rapid modernization had shifted toward cleaner and more efficient energy sources, most notably oil. Across the country, coal mines began closing, and the once vital industry that had built Hashima's world started to crumble. Mitsubishi, which had managed the island for nearly a century, announced the inevitable: the mine would shut down. For the residents of Hashima, who had known no other home, the news was devastating. Families packed their belongings into crates, while others left everything behind, assuming they might return someday. They never did. When the final mine closed in January 1974, the evacuation happened almost overnight. Boats lined up at the pier as residents hurriedly departed, carrying small suitcases and memories of lives lived between sea and stone. Within weeks, Hashima, once one of the most crowded places on Earth, was empty. Furniture sat abandoned in rooms, calendars froze on the walls, and children's toys gathered dust. The ocean air began to eat away at the concrete, cracking walls and corroding metal. Nature, long kept at bay, reclaimed its territory with steady persistence. Seabirds nested in broken windows, and vines crept through collapsed roofs. Mitsubishi officially relinquished ownership of the island in 2001, long after it had fallen silent. What remained was a ghost city, an intact fragment of the 20th century, perfectly preserved in decay. Photographers and explorers who later ventured there described it as hauntingly beautiful, a place where time had stopped. Yet for former residents, the sight was painful. Their childhood homes, once full of warmth and noise, now stood like tombs of concrete. The island that once symbolized progress had become a monument to loss, frozen between history and ruin. For nearly 3 decades after its abandonment, Hashima Island remained off-limits. Officially, it was too dangerous, its structures unstable, its tunnels flooded. Yet the mystery surrounding it only grew. Satellite images revealed the outline of a concrete warship adrift in the sea, and whispers began spreading among urban explorers and photographers. In the early 2000s, interest in ruin tourism surged, and Hashima became a symbol of haunting beauty, a place where the modern world had been swallowed by nature. Filmmakers and journalists began to arrive, documenting the eerie stillness. Classrooms frozen in time, telephones hanging from walls, typewriters still resting on desks. Every object seemed to tell a story left mid-sentence. In 2009, Nagasaki Prefecture opened a portion of the island to the public for the first time. Visitors could walk along reinforced pathways, peering into the decayed remains of what was once the densest city on Earth. Tourism boomed. International media dubbed it Ghost Island, and documentaries portrayed it as a post-industrial Atlantis. In 2012, its fame reached new heights when it appeared as the villain's lair in the James Bond film Skyfall. The surreal backdrop of broken apartments and empty corridors captured global imagination. But fascination came with consequences. The influx of tourists sparked debates about how to balance preservation with respect for history. Some visitors saw Hashima merely as an aesthetic spectacle, a playground for photographers chasing decay, while others urged remembrance of the forced laborers who suffered there. The Japanese government faced growing pressure to present the island's history truthfully, not just as a relic of progress, but as a layered story of ambition, exploitation, and memory etched into the very walls that still crumble above the sea. As Hashima drew global attention, it also reignited difficult conversations about how nations remember their industrial pasts. When Japan nominated the island for UNESCO World Heritage status in 2015, the move sparked immediate controversy. While Japan celebrated Hashima as a symbol of its rapid modernization, South Korea and China objected, reminding the world that forced laborers had suffered and died in its mines during World War II. UNESCO approved the designation but required Japan to acknowledge the full history of the site. The decision placed Hashima in a complex moral space, both a triumph of engineering and a testament to human suffering. Efforts to preserve the island have faced daunting challenges. The concrete structures, exposed to relentless sea winds, are deteriorating rapidly. Walls crack, staircases collapse, and entire sections of buildings crumble into the ocean. Engineers have reinforced certain pathways, but full restoration would be nearly impossible. The island's decay has become part of its identity. Instead, Japan has focused on controlled preservation, stabilizing key areas while allowing nature to continue its slow reclamation. Former residents have also become active voices in preserving Hashima's memory. Many share personal photographs, maps, and stories in museums across Nagasaki, offering a human dimension to the ruins. Their testimonies reveal not only the hardships of mining life, but also moments of joy, festivals, weddings, and friendships formed in such close quarters. These memories help transform Hashima from a mere ruin into a living archive, a reminder that history is not just about structures, but about people who built, lived, and dreamed within them. Today, Hashima Island stands as both ruin and revelation, a fragile monument balanced between sea and sky. From afar, its jagged outline still resembles a battleship adrift in mist, an echo of the industrial might that once defined it. Visitors arriving by ferry are met not with noise or activity, but silence, an unsettling quiet broken only by waves striking the seawall. The air smells of salt and rust. Buildings lean precariously, staircases end abruptly, and rooms once full of life are now open to the wind. The absence feels alive, as if the island itself remembers. For historians and architects, Hashima is a rare time capsule. It captures a moment when human ambition seemed limitless, when even a barren rock could become a thriving city. Yet it also exposes the fragility of that ambition. The same concrete that once symbolized permanence now crumbles at the edges, reminding us that no empire, no technology, and no society can resist the slow persistence of decay. Every collapsing wall is both a warning and a lesson. In Japan's collective imagination, Hashima has evolved beyond ruin. It has become a mirror reflecting the country's journey from industrialization to introspection, from conquest to remembrance. To younger generations, it stands as a reminder of what progress costs when unchecked by humility. For the world, it remains a haunting emblem of the 20th century's paradox. Human ingenuity at its peak, built upon fragile foundations of exploitation and impermanence. And yet, despite storms and time, Hashima endures. It refuses to disappear entirely, suspended between past and future, between creation and collapse. A silent ship anchored in eternity, drifting slowly toward oblivion but never truly gone.